I would venture to say, let's rewind. Can we reset? Is that cool? All right, let's try this. Let me give you the definition of transformation before we go any further. I'll read it to you. You can look up it on the screen. Transformation means to change in form, appearance, nature, or character. Or in other words, if looking at a theater setting, which some of you may not, it means this: a seemingly miraculous change in the appearance of scenery or actors in the view of the audience. Now, I would venture to say that some of you, many of us in this room, are going through a slight transformation inside of your life tonight or have already begun. Would you agree? You can shake your head. Okay? Here's what I mean. For some of you, you just graduated high school. Okay? You're out. Congratulations. You made it. Now you're in the real world. You're starting college, and what you're realizing is possibly, don't let me put this on you, but possibly high school maybe didn't go so well, right? Some of us, you would be bold enough to say high school didn't necessarily go as planned. And so you get to do what? Man, when you graduate high school, you get to hit the reset button. You get to start over. You get to pick a new outfit. You get to pick a new lifestyle. You get to pick new friends. You get to start over. Am I right? Am I wrong? Okay. Your curfew that used to be, well, you were in bed by 9. Now your buddies are calling you at 9, deciding where you're going to go, right? It's a big change in your life. The parental hold is slowly beginning to release. Slowly, I know. Maybe you can stay up till 10 instead of 9, or maybe you can eat all of your dessert instead of half of it. But the parental hold is starting to slowly release. Now, others of you, you've graduated college. Life's good, right? You paid $50,000 for a school loan, and now you can't get a job at McDonald's. Am I right? Yeah, that's what I thought. No, hang in there. I promise it gets better. Happens to everyone, even now. But others of you, you've moved in back home. You graduated college, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, however long it took you. But you got to spend time alone, doing whatever you want. You could stay out late. You could go to bed early. You could have a bunch of friends over. You could have one friend over. You could have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Some of you can't do that now that you're back home. But then you find out that school's over, and you come back home to stay with the parents temporarily, of course. And they start asking you questions like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, where are you going? Hey, what time are you going to be home? And you go, what, who do you think you are, my mom? No, I'm an adult now. I've been at college for 4, 5, 6, some 10 years. I can do whatever I want, but the truth is, you're back under your parents' roof. And so what they say does go if you want to eat or not live on the street. Drastic transformation. Others of you, maybe it's a breakup. Maybe it's a breakup. You realize that it is time to part ways with your weaker half, and so you have separated. Just kidding. You have separated, and you are moving into a new direction. You have decided, made a plea or a bargain or a deal with God that I'm not going to date for a year. How many? Just raise your hand if you've ever done that before. Yeah, half of you are honest. Okay. Right? I made the deal with God. I'm not dating for a whole year. I'm done. Guys, girls, they don't interest me anymore. I want to follow the Lord. And then all of a sudden, you sit next to someone at undergrad, and that changes everything, doesn't it? Mothers of you, maybe it was more serious. Maybe you were dating and you were in a serious relationship and you did break up, and what you came to find was you spent 2, 3, 4 years dating someone, and all you have left now is you're single, you have no friends, and your heart's broken. Either way, in some way, shape, or form, some capacity in this room, I would venture to think that every one of us are going through in our life some sort of a transformation. I want to feed this line to you, and I'm going to say it a few times tonight, and I hope, if we get nothing else, that this radiates in your head as you leave. When we choose to experience a spiritual transformation, we become a part of His story instead of history. If we choose to experience a spiritual transformation in our life, we become a part of His story instead of history. I don't know if you caught that, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Some of us, I fear, are spending some time doing some pretty worthless things. You don't have to admit that. But I would venture to say some of us in this room are spending some time doing some worthless things. Now, I'm not going to pick on you. I'm going to be a little more out there. But I want to give you 3 examples of what some worthless things could be. You could be like some families in Mississippi that have banded together to get the state sign, slow, children at play, removed from their neighborhood because they feel like it's an attack on their children for being not intelligent. You get that? So they have banded together and they are working tirelessly to get this sign removed. Not necessarily the best way to spend your time. Others, there are men across the world that have trained hours upon hours a day, all leading up to this one moment, the ultimate world championship of air guitar playing. And they have dedicated their lives to insult the underground bands by playing what we call nothing. Not a good way to spend your time. And then there's the GLF. The GLF. The Gnome Liberation Front. Who knows what a gnome is? A gnome, I have a picture, sir. Would you try to find it? It's in that folder. I didn't put it on there, I'm sorry. But a gnome is something you place in a garden. And it'll look like what'll come on the screen in a second, but I'm going to begin to read this to you because this front, the Gnome Liberation Front, has decided that gnomes are not justly right being in someone's garden. It gets better. In Paris, the dormant garden Gnome Liberation Front has sprung back to life, stealing about 20 gnomes during a nighttime raid on a Paris exhibition. Oh, it gets better. Quote, "We demand that the garden gnomes are no longer ridiculed and that they be released into their natural habitat." The front's Paris wingman said this past weekend. France's first gardening gnome exhibition in the exclusive Bagelta Park on the outskirts of the capital opened last month and has been a hit with the public as the chick Parisian develop a taste for kitsch culture. Now hang on. The Garden Gnome Liberation Front vanished from the public eye in 1997. Listen to this. After a northern French court handed its ringleader a suspended prison sentence and fined him for his part in the disappearance of around 150 gnomes. Jail time. The only suspected sighting of the organization since then was a mass suicide of gnomes at Brittany in eastern France in September of 1998 when 11 of them were found dangling by their necks under a bridge. A letter was found nearby that said this: "When you read these few words, we will no longer be a part of your selfish world where we serve merely as pretty decoration." Not a good way to spend your time. And if you're in here, Lord help you.